to Pardon Our Honesty, where today we are deep diving into a topic that I feel is going to be very juicy. We're talking about conventional relationships. Ooh.
Or not.
Or not. So, traditional relationship in my eyes is marriage. I think as a young woman, I always dreamed about being married and wanting a family and doing it big. And then I was raised in the church. So, of course, that was the only kind of relationship where you were supposed to have. But in my childhood, I did watch my mother get married, but then have long-term relationships with like a boyfriend. And I know in Georgia, I think here in North Carolina as well, if you stay together for like 7 years, then you're basically married. So I have several examples of that kind of relationship where they just never got married. They stayed together for like 20, 30 years. And then, you know, they lived happily ever after. So is there a perfect or conventional relationship or not? And if it's not conventional, like we define it, being married, is it a good relationship? I would say yes.
So I would say the same thing. I was raised that marriage is basically what you do. So I had parents who were married for a very long time until my dad passed away, and they'd still be married. And I always felt like that was the next thing. I don't even know if I always wanted to get married. But I feel like that was what you were taught was the next thing to do. If you date somebody for a long period of time, and then you're together, then you should be married, you know, and you should definitely, you know, the way I was raised is not have kids out of wedlock, get married, have kids, that order. Now, our whole family didn't follow that order, you know, and I'm not saying that's wrong or anything, but traditionally speaking, but for me, you know, I'm divorced. And have had other relationships, but I've been in a relationship for a very long time. And we would be considered the non-traditional. We've been together 7 years. We have a blended family. We do not live together. And he would love to get married. I have no intentions of getting married because I don't believe, for me personally, getting remarried. And I don't think marriage defines the relationship. But on the other hand, I feel like in my brain sometimes marriage, I think people use marriage as like this is a lock and key. Like we are committed and we're solid. And I feel like it gives a sense of security, which I do agree with. I think it does. But I think knowing that can be destroyed the same as if you're just my boyfriend has kind of jaded my outlook on, you know, getting married again, I guess.
All right. So I think I'm also divorced and remarried. We are definitely a blended family with a whole lot of topics we could talk about on that subject. For me, once I got divorced, I didn't think I wanted to be married again. I had no intentions on getting married again, but I did long for that companionship. And I remember when I met you in the beginning and Nick, I was like, wow, they have such an amazing relationship. They so in love and they don't give a crap. They don't give a shit what anybody thinks about their relationship. They gonna do it how they want to do it. And I admired you guys. I still do. I admire their relationship. Me getting married, I think my kids had a lot to do with that. I grew up in a single parent home. I always wanted my kids to know their father or to have that stability of both parents in the home because I felt like it would make a difference in their lives when they got older. If I were to get a divorce now, I'm telling y'all right now, there will be no Mr. I don't give a flying flip who. I will enjoy my life, enjoy my freedom. I will have Rico Suave come by. You cannot spend the night. You need to go home. And we're going to have that sort of like you guys have that relationship where I get to live my life and do the things that I want. And you get to do your life and do the things you want.
But on the flip side, I think, partly for me, I'll say the remarriage part is fear, because I think it's just fear. And for us, we're a blended family, and there's a lot of other things that go into it. And me and my brain, I'm like, do I really want to do this again and get married? And, traditionally, which we'll talk about, blended families, it's very stressful and very hard. And sometimes it brings out the worst of two people and not the best of two people. And so for me, living non-traditionally, I miss the traditional living. Like, I would like to wake up with somebody, go to bed with somebody. I would like to sit on the couch and be like, I'm bored. What do you want to watch? Like, there's a lot of things you miss. Like, there's tons of things you miss, and I feel you can't build a certain bond or connection without living with somebody. But I also think we avoid a lot of the tedious arguments and a lot of other things. You didn't put your laundry away, or you didn't clean the dishes, or yada, yada, because we don't live together. We go to dinner, we hang out, we might hang out at each other's house, we might go do things together with the kids and stuff. But I don't know if it's good or bad. It's just what works for us. But I do know sometimes it's a little because traditionally, I think people assume you get married.
Yeah.
So when we're together and people are like, the first question we normally get is, when are you getting married? And when I say we're not, it's like, and then I even get embarrassed sometimes to say, this is my boyfriend, because I'm 42 years old. So I even wear a ring on my finger so people think I'm married, because I feel embarrassed to be like, that's my boyfriend. Like I'm 16, it's my boyfriend. And, we're raising kids together and doing all this stuff, but we're not a traditional relationship. But I don't really think, I remember when I was younger, my mother, sorry, Mom, put you on blast. She married the only person she had sex with. I know this is a little different, but kind of gets to the point. And she always told us, don't only marry the person you first slept with, right? You have to experience life. And so I have anything. A lot of people have very strong, and I understand that I believe in God. I have faith. A lot of people believe you should never live together before you get married. But if you never want to get married, even if you do want to get married, I don't see why you can't live together.
Well, because the Bible says you are a sinner.
I sin.
But I sin.
If you curse, you sin. If you
but do you feel like?
But do you think people can live together? Do you think it's okay? People should live together before they get married, or do you think a lot of people do that and it hinders them from getting married? Because now, what do they say? You get the cow, you get the milk for free. You don't buy the cow or something.
I agree on both standpoints. I agree that, okay, if you're going to live together, it should be with the expectation that, okay, this is a committed relationship that's going to move forward. Because if I'm living with you and we're creating this life together, we're putting our money together, then when we break up, then now I got to fight you and you're not my husband and I can't get my stuff, and we done built all this together. I met a young lady last week. She's older than us. The gentleman she was dating, they've been dating for 6 years. He bought her a house. He decided he didn't want that relationship anymore. Her name was not on the house, period. He turned the utility services off and kind of made it so that she would have to move out. And so now she's basically homeless. So was it good for her to live with him and find that out? I would have hoped she would have found that out at 2 years instead of 6 years. But imagine,
but do you think
that
if people are married, so if they would have been married, do you think he would have been more committed to try to make it work?
Right.
Do you think people stay more committed because, oh my gosh, we're married, we'd have to get a divorce, we're going to be labeled divorce, all this stuff that goes with marriage and divorce? So do you think, though, if she was married to him, that maybe he wouldn't have left, or maybe he wouldn't have?
I think our parents' generation and our generation, yes, we have that outlook. I think our children's generation, no, they'll be just like, forget it. I'm not happy. I'm moving on. But for me, I know there were plenty of instances where, and even in my immediate family, where the wife stayed because the husband took care of the kids and paid the mortgage and made sure everybody was provided for. And the relationship was pure crap. It was abuse, emotional, physical, But what am I going to do, even myself? What am I going to do with these 4 kids that I got to take care of if I leave this relationship because I don't have a job? So conventional relationships, yes, they're great, but I also feel like some of those conventional relationships are hellholes. Like,
yeah, I agree.
So why, I mean, even though you're in a conventional relationship, of course, nobody shows all the crap that's going on in their marriage.
Right.
Like, nobody does that. I don't care who you are. You always putting on the face of, oh, everything is great when it's the total hell going on behind the doors. So is it better to be in a conventional relationship going through hell or having a relationship like you have where you still have that ability to be the individual you want to be, go do what you want to do. They don't feel that they're obligated. I'm going to go on a girls trip. Oh, you going on a girls trip? Why you going on a girls trip? I ain't enough. You going to see somebody else, blah, blah, blah. I think you still have that freedom in that untraditional relationship. And I think it could be healthier than conventional relationships if you're not willing to address the issues.
And I think it depends on what that is. Right, exactly. So for us, like, because we did live together for a short period of time, and then we had to make the decision, do we want to be together forever, or do we want to live together and end up hating each other and totally not, and so for us, I think down the road maybe that dynamic would change. But when you have a blended family, he comes from a different background, I come from a different background, you take these things and we kind of expect people to be able to blend and live together. And my previous marriage, we loved living together, we had fun, and we like our living together situation was great. But we were pretty much we went to middle school and high school together, and then we dated, then we got married, and then we had a child together. So I think that also creates a different bond and connection but I don't believe that but the funny thing is, though, is I will tell my daughter, I hope you find somebody who makes you happy that you will marry, and I still put married in her brain. So I don't say do whatever makes you happy. I mean, I do say do whatever makes you happy, but you know what I'm saying? I say marriage. Like, I teach marriage, and I say marriage is a great, beautiful thing. And marriage is marriage, I encourage marriage. For me personally, I feel like after the first one didn't go good for me, I'm like, why would I do this again? And I don't know if that's just my own issues. You know what I mean? Like, but the first one
you're saying get married. Aren't you married mind, body, and spirit? Aren't you guys are basically married? You just don't have the piece of paper that says
yes. We also don't live together. We don't share finances. And even if I ever got remarried, and this is, I don't know if this is a whole other subject or not, but I would never do shared finances again. Yeah, we did shared finances and we were fine. But moving forward, knowing now later in life, I'm 40 something, and he's got his own income and I've got mine, and we didn't build it together. We're not doing, we did, but we didn't. You know what I mean? I would definitely have a shared pot. Like, here's our bill pot, and we put in there and pay the bills, but I'm going to spend what I want to spend. You spend what you want to spend. We have common goals that maybe we share, but I would not share finances. But with my daughter, I'm telling her, go, and all the kids, I'm like, you want to find somebody that you're going to be happy with, that's going to take care of you, you're going to get married. Like, I put this married thing out like it's the next step, and I don't know, is that right or wrong? Because traditionally moving forward, you don't see as many people, I'll say, valuing marriage. The younger they get, I feel like the more divorce we see. Like, they don't make me happy, I'm getting divorced or whatever. Yeah. So I think traditionally marriage is beautiful, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And I don't care if you're 2 men, 2 women, a man or a woman, whatever makes your heart happy. If you're married, I think it's the ultimate commitment, but I don't think that ultimate commitment is the only way to be committed.
Yep. I would agree with that. And like you're saying, the definition of relationship has changed from when I was a teenager, definitely, to what society says is okay now has drastically changed. And I'm excited for it because it does speak to love is love. And it doesn't have to be in this small little package wrapped up with a pretty bow. And that's what I think you guys are displaying to everybody else, whether they agree or they disagree, that love is love. And that's what I want my kids to experience. Now,
But
I also say to the kids, get married. I want to be a grandmother and all that. But I've also had those experiences where, the child explored their love. And I might have been shocked, but if I love her or him, I'm not going to say who it was. If I love her or him, then I'm still going to love them regardless of who they love. And if they decided to have a non-traditional relationship, would I be happy? I don't know. I think I would eventually be happy.
But it's a change. So when
yes,
it's a change, it's always, I don't think it means you're against it. I think like anything you have to adjust. Yeah. Like you go on a diet, well, it's freaking hell. But then when you get used to it, you love the lifestyle eventually, right? So like everything takes, I think we have to get past ourselves. But sometimes I feel like my setup, I mean, being a devil's advocate, I feel like that's the right word, devil's advocate, right? Mm-hmm. I feel like it's kind of a cop-out.
Well, I think
because why are you not committing? You've been together almost 7-8 years. Well, why are you not getting married? Why aren't you living in the same house? You just don't want to do hard. You don't want to do this, and you don't want to fight. You don't want blah 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 blah.
I don't want to fight either.
But you know what I mean. So but that's what why are you avoiding that? And when people have asked me that, and I'll tell them honestly, my mental health and my being happy, it wasn't a situation for us where everybody was happy. The blended family thing is very challenging, and we couldn't get to a point where we could get over that hump. We just, like I said, raised differently, different beliefs, different disciplines, different everything. So either we find a way to love each other and continue this relationship, or we just say it's over. Well, I mean, I think I'd take the latter and make sure that we are still together versus just hey, because we can't get married and live together, we shouldn't be together. So I feel like, traditional, but I think non-traditional.
You are saying that you have that fear, and until you get past that, then it's not the being a conventional or traditional relationship. It's not going to work for you guys. But what's wrong with that? I mean,
I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but this is totally my own life, and I'm criticizing my own life.
Yes, she is doing the flip flop, y'all.
I feel like I kind of hate it sometimes.
Because what the hell are you gonna do about it? But do you not
like coming home and there's your husband and he's here, even if you're a jerk to him or he's not, you wake up, he's here, where he is, his routine, what he likes to do when it's 7 a.m, he gets up, go to the bathroom, you learn all these intricate things that bond you when you live together, and we don't have that.
But there are some days I wish I had what you had, because I just want to stay in the bed till noon, and Ed is looking at me like, girl, it's 8 o'clock. You gonna get up today? You gonna get up today? You gonna sit there and watch the Idiot Box all night? Yes, dear, I am. So sorry. This is just my me time, and I love it. So I do feel like, yes, it's nice that I get to go to sleep with him, wake up with him. We get to do things together, but there are times where I don't want to be bothered, and he does not want to be bothered. And we end up in our separate corners where he's listening to a podcast and I'm sitting at the Idiot Box looking at the Real Housewives or the 90 Day Fiance, and we're just in our separate worlds. So kind of like you're saying, when you go home, what's the difference in that? Right. I mean, that's what I think. We do have struggles. We've had some very great highs and some really bad lows.
And we have too. Yeah.
Really bad lows. And in traditional, like you said, relationships, you don't get that space. I mean, you're like, when I want to go to bed, I'm not going to go to bed in a separate room because I like my bed. It's really comfortable. So you stay on your side and I stay on my side, whereas you get to kind of go decompress and figure it out, and we'll come back together at another time. But I think either way you have a relationship, dealing with the issues in the relationship, that's going to be key.
It's communication, because we communicate probably 20 times more than a normal couple during a day because we don't live together. So, I mean, you work with your husband, but I feel like most times I'm out with people who are like, you guys talk all the time. And it may not be long conversations. Yeah. It's like check-ins, but we don't live together. So we're not going to go home and discuss our day over dinner or lay in bed before we go to sleep and discuss that. And we might go days without seeing each other. So we have to communicate in a way that's different or less, I guess, taken for granted for. Because like when I was married, we wouldn't talk all day and then he'd come home and then we'd talk and catch up. So you have that factor. I do think it kind of like the other day, it was like, well, you need, I don't have dental insurance or something. It's like, let's just get married. You can have dental insurance. And I'm like, I'm not going to get married for insurance. But some people do that.
A lot of people do that.
And he's like, what does it matter? It's just a piece of paper. And I'm like, yes, it is just a piece of paper in reality. But like, so I think my own self struggles with is this. And then I always think, what am I teaching the kids that, not to commit? But I feel like it is commitment still because we're not stepping out. We're not doing anything. We are committed to each other. Yeah. But what are you teaching? Because like you said, you were raised, you saw a household, you wanted to get married. So your kids saw a household. And that is the traditional family picture. It's like the white picket fence. You have these images and now you don't fit that image because you're not doing the traditional things. And it's funny because when you tell people, no, we're not married, we're not engaged, we don't live together. It's like, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with him?
And some of us married people would be like, girl.
And some people tell me, hey, you got the best of both worlds. And I can see that in a way, but in a way it can also be lonely in a relationship.
But you have the opportunity to be like, dude, I'm coming over to your house right now.
Yeah, in a way, but you have children involved. So you can't disrupt the normal routine of a household because that day you decide to come over.
You can go over at 9:00 at night.
He goes to bed at 8.
Well, you could go to bed at 8.
They go to bed at 10.
Oh, that's me. Ed goes to bed
I'm a night owl.
And I'm still up at 10 looking at the TV like
So I can't just show up because they have a routine and sports and you know what I mean? So it's more intricate than
you're already deep into all of that. So I guess I feel like all the other people that are asking, oh, what the hell is wrong? Just get married, why don't you? But I understand.
See?
I understand.
One of the first things she ever said to me was, when do you get married? I'm like, we don't plan on getting married. Why do you not plan on getting married? I see people all the time. You married yet? Nope. You're going to get married.
But that's what I'm saying. When I met you, that was because I saw you guys interact. And you interact like a committed, loving, healthy couple, right? And that doesn't mean you don't have bullshit you got to deal with or your ups and downs, right? But when I ask those questions and you're so confident about like, hey, this doesn't define us. We're going to have this beautiful relationship regardless of what everybody else thinks. I was like, wow, what if everybody in the world could be like that and just be okay with this is what we're doing right now. This is who I'm loving. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, I had this wonderful experience and move the hell on.
Yeah. I think we get caught up in judging people based on perception. Yeah. Like, this is what we were taught to look like, or this is what you're taught to not do or do. And this is what you're taught to like, you know what I mean? And I think that people still, even though you think you're past that, I still think deep down people have a picture of what quote unquote normal or what it should look like. And I think as the years go on, you realize everything is different. Yeah. Relationships look different. Yeah. People look different. How we show love looks different. Roles in relationships are different. Money's different. Yeah. Everything's different. And how it works for you I might look at you and go, I would never do that in a million years. Well, if it works for you, why is it any of my business? But I think we like to put in our thoughts into other people's relationships so much because it's not the way we're doing it. Mm-hmm. Even though we could probably put 10 couples in the room and they all probably do something different that we may or may not agree with. But if it works for them, who are we to say that's not okay?
Yeah, because we're both in monogamous relationships. What about people who are comfortable in that non-traditional relationship where it's an open relationship, right, where you get to do what you want to do, I get to do what I want to do, but we're still committed to each other, to love each other, and we're going to be together forever. We don't understand it, but I just have fun in a different way, and that's okay.
Yeah. I mean, I don't understand it, but it's not me to understand. No. But I guess if it works for you, it works for you. But here's my problem. I love to ask questions. And I wish, like in a setting like this, we're talking about stuff. I wish I could ask somebody, how does that work for you?
Yeah.
without them being offended or thinking like, I ask you cultural questions.
Mm-hmm.
I ask, I have lesbian friends. I ask them questions. Am I 100% fully comfortable? No. I wish I could though, because I have questions.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of assuming,
Mm-hmm.
I would like for you to genuinely explain it to me, even whether you think I'm ignorant or not.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to know. And like somebody who has like 2 wives, I would like to know what man would love to have 2 wives and why. Like, I wouldn't want 2 of me.
No, that is not for him.
I wouldn't want to deal with 2 of us.
Enough,
yeah. So, but it obviously works
Yeah.
for them.
Yeah.
And so I think that's probably the biggest thing is understanding that what works for somebody may not work for somebody else. And the idea of traditional should be thrown out the window at this point.
Yeah.
Not that it's a bad thing. I'm all for marriage or whatever, but like the misconception that is the only way,
the only
way,
the only right way. I don't agree that this is the only right way.
Yeah.
But it's okay.
There's the counter of biblically, you're told marriage and you're told these things. So it is hard because when you do believe and you want to say that this is the foundation you go off of, you shouldn't be living together and you shouldn't be having sex out of wedlock and you shouldn't be doing all this other stuff. But to me, if you can pick and choose verses in the Bible, that's the way I like to do it.
We don't get to pick and choose. But I do one thing that I guess I'm grateful for, but will probably sound pretty shitty is I did not marry the first guy that I was intimate with. I don't feel like it's the best idea, even though it's biblical, that you be with the one and only person you've ever been with unless you pray like Job prayed that, okay, God, whoever you're sending me, they're going to be able to please my body like I like it, all the ways I like it, because that is a very strong, hard commitment. And I know I was with great people, mediocre people, and some horrible people. If I had married that horrible person, I'd been pissed. That was horrible sexually.
Okay, all I'm going to say in that before I get off subject is I think you could teach anybody anything if they're willing to learn. So I feel like but I still don't believe you should just marry the first person. Like, oh my gosh, somebody out there is going to just die when they hear us say this. But if you happen to have sex with somebody, does not mean you have to marry them. Like, I just don't believe that. And yes, I teach my girls like modesty and like, don't go just sleeping around. Like, it should mean something. Be safe, be smart. It doesn't have to be a way to show somebody you like or get them to like you. But if you found somebody and they were that person, or you believe that you marry somebody and then have sex with them, if it is bad, but that was your belief, I feel that if you are 2 good people who can communicate, you could learn and teach and grow that, unless there was just other factors.
Tiffany don't believe that. Tiffany does not believe that, because when it was bad, it was really bad. And if I was married to that bad, I would be very unhappy.
But that's, I feel like, a whole other subject. Like, is sex make a marriage though?
It's a very strong, 85%.
So if your husband had an accident and could no longer perform, you'd marry him? I mean, you'd divorce him?
No.
Okay, so it can't be the do-all, end-all.
It can't be the do-all, be-all, but it's 50% of the connection.
It just went from 85 to 50.
I know, I did. It's a big, it's up there. But
it is, but I agree 100%.
But you cannot make something that's absolutely not there work.
Okay, well, okay.
You cannot.
If you're talking about body parts. Okay, I got that. Okay, you can't change body parts. Well, I guess you can. I guess I could get bigger boobs and I could do stuff. A man, I
guess they can.
But everything else, you could experiment, you could communicate, you could try, and you could build off things. But if you're not intimate and you're not comfortable and you're afraid to say, "Hey, baby, I want you to do this and try that," then yeah, of course, it's going to be awful. And then, but I don't even know how we got down this rabbit hole of sex again. But anyway,
so Can a non-traditional relationship work? And should that be the norm?
I don't think it has to be the norm.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it can work if, again, you've communicated the expectations, the boundaries, all those things that you don't have when you live together in a traditional marriage in a home together.
Okay. So what would you say to that person that says, you telling a whole damn lie, non-traditional is not going to work, you cannot have that trust, you can't blah, blah, blah. What would you say to them?
I'd say don't knock it till you try it.
What if they say you going to hell with gasoline draws on because you are not married and you are doing married people things?
I guess I will face my judgment on that day.
I would say
I
take the plank out of your eye before you try to take the plank out of mine. That's
I mean, I understand that you can't. I mean, the stone in the glass house, yada yada. But it's true though. I mean, if you're biblical and it's true. It is true. It's a sin. It's true, and there's no way to deny that or go around it. I guess I just have to. I will face that on Judgment Day. I believe that Jesus died for our sins. So for that, I'm accepted. I believe that truly 100%. God, I believe that.
Mm-hmm.
So if I don't get into heaven because Nick and I have a relationship that's not the norm, I guess I'll see some friends in hell. But I mean, I don't know.
I'll be one of them.
I don't know how to answer that. I will say, I understand. Yes, don't point nobody's perfect.
Nobody's perfect.
That's why we're forgiven. But doesn't mean you go gallivanting around doing everything wrong. No. But I feel like it can work and it can also not work. Yeah. I mean, it could be very easily not work. Mm-hmm. There's different, there's ease. Because we don't live together, I go out to dinner with you. I go out to dinner with friends. I do a lot more things socially and not necessarily with the family. And if you don't have a solid relationship and you don't have, that could hurt you. Yes, it could. They could be jealous. You could get attention from other people. Yeah. You can cross those lines maybe because you're not, with that person all the time. You're not going home to that person. You're not. So, I mean, I think it's very tricky, but you know what? The same shit happens in a marriage.
It sure does.
People walk that line. I've made mistakes,
I made mistakes.
Marriages are not, doesn't mean you're going to make it.
Yeah. That's so true. And so that's what I would say. While I'm in a conventional type relationship with my husband, it doesn't mean that we don't have conflict. It doesn't mean that I want to go to my side of the house and you go to your side of the house, or that I don't want to have a social life where I can go out with the girls and you're not going to be pissed off because, it's 10 o'clock at night. You're just getting home, And I think, like you're saying, communication is a huge part in that whether you're in a traditional relationship or not, you got to be able to communicate about everything so that it works. Because if you don't, then it's not going to work. I don't care what relationship you're in.
Yeah, you can't assume things.
No.
You can't.
No.
Yeah.
No. It takes work. Marriage is not easy.
No relationship
are
is easy.
It takes work. It's just like a job. You go to your job. You do this every day to make it successful. You got to do the same thing in a relationship.
But don't let the outside world tell you what works or doesn't work for you and your partner, no matter who your partner is and how you're living with your partner. Because if they're not in your house, living it with you, paying your bills, taking care of you, and in that relationship, really their input means nothing. So don't let those outside external forces say, well, we shouldn't be doing this or this doesn't make sense. If you have them internally, then you have to deal with those. But don't let other people dictate your marriage, your relationship, who you love, when you want to love them, where you want to love them. Make sure that you're doing what's best for you and your partner.
And Megan, she is amazing because when I said, girl, why aren't you married? She was like, excuse you. We love the way we are and that's all to it. And I'm just like, so she is my inspiration to be like, I don't care what everybody else thinks about my relationship. It is what it is. And that's all you get.
Something like that. Something like that.
All right, guys. So we would love for you to chime in on this conversation. Let us know what you think. Should a
conventional versus non-conventional.
What do you think about it? Should the definition be changed of what a relationship should be like, or is expected to be like, or can it be different? Let us know. Please like, share, and subscribe. And we thank you again for tuning in. And until next time, guys.
Bye.
Bye.